Now I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We finally meet. Okay. Oh.
What's up, son?
Good. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good. So
yeah.
I'm connecting to Facebook as we speak.
Okay.
So let's see. Oh shoot, I hope it doesn't mess up again. Share in an event, share on a page you manage. Let's see what it lets me do. Nah, I don't want to do it there. Share in a group. Okay, let's see if it lets me do this. Okay. Yeah, let's see.
Are there others on here already or just me?
Right now it's just me and you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know Steve Grody?
Mm-mm.
No? Steve had said that he would try to make it.
Oh, okay. What about Bob Landers?
I don't know. I don't know. All right.
I really would like to sit and talk with him. He is funny.
Yeah, Bob's the character.
Yes, he is.
All right, so let me get.
Hey, I just want to say you're doing a great job. Just keep up what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Hey, you should tell people how we know each other.
I came to your school one time when I was in the military, and I came to your school.
It wasn't just one. It wasn't just one time. I mean, not that. Yeah, it was one time. But tell them when that was.
Oh God! Don't make me think. You know how old I am. Oh my God, that was so long. That's when you had the big school.
No, that's when we were in the warehouse.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. That's when we were in the warehouse.
Wow.
Yep. Okay. So now I think we're live on.
Is that light too much glare?
Nah, doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we're live on Facebook now. In the I Love Jeet Kune Do page.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand. What with Facebook, how they do things sometimes. Anyhow, it's not a big deal. So yeah, so you and I are live. If anybody else joins us, because I initially had asked people to send me an email to get the password, and then I thought, you know what, let me just open it up and give everybody the password for it. Because you know how people are, right? You give them too many hoops to jump through, and you know, they fade after like hoop half.
But it depends on their age, right? Do you know my kids had to help me with this?
Really?
Yes.
Oh man!
Don't do this. I don't.
Yeah. Well, see, it's relatively easy for me because I had to learn a lot of the technology in order to run my school.
Right. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
So when I went online, I think my first website was 95 or so.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't discover you until a year after you started your podcast. A year after you started your podcast. Well, that's when I discovered you.
You mean rediscover?
Yeah, okay.
Right? Because the thing that I remember about you, and correct me if I'm wrong, because sometimes, you know, as old as I am, I have these, right? I have these memories and I assign like dates and people and whatever to the memories, and then somebody comes along and goes, no, you got that completely wrong. But you had started researching the books
right.
that were source material for the Tao of Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
And this was way before internet and what have you. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? I would sit on the job. I was working, I was stationed. Well, now it started, good God, in 1978 or 79. And I've been on this journey, Dwight, up until I'm 62 now. I mean, you're older than you. We both are Geminis. Right? We both are Geminis. You was born June 1st?
2nd.
June 2nd. Okay, yeah. I was born June 2nd also, 1958, and you was born June 2nd, 1959.
Well, that's the information that I put out in one area. Right? But if you find my information in other areas, you'll find a different date. You see? Because a long time ago, I embraced the concept that in some people, tell me what you think of this, in some people, chronological age, mental age, spiritual age, physical age, emotional age are all different.
Yes,
you see?
I agree with it.
Right? So when I embraced that concept, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to be guided by any one of these possible ages.
I got you.
You see? So now I just say, you know, I'm 450 something chronological years.
Okay.
Because I use the Jewish numbering system. Right. So, but
hey,
but yeah.
Can I turn this light off?
Yeah, sure.
It's a glare. Take maybe one of them down. Hold on a minute. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. All right. So while Mr. Powell, see, there you go. You can tell JKD people. Look at the photographs, look at the statues, and look at the bookshelves. That's how you know JKD people, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got to study. You can't be a dummy.
Yeah. Yep. Now me, I mean, I had bookshelves in the office at the academy, but now all those books are in storage.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. I was wondering. Yeah. I got some in storage too.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, shoot. Wait, let me ask you something. Can you see me?
Not really.
Okay. I'll leave it. It's kind of hard to get this out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you can see it. Right. Okay.
So yeah. So let me just tell people that we are over on the ILJKD page. Well, actually, okay, hold on. You saw about Seagun Taky Kimura?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he passed away.
Really?
Yeah. Yesterday morning, I think.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear. I don't hear that.
Yeah.
Wow. So. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, he was 96 or 97 years old. So
he lived a really long life.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure he was, you know, I mean, I don't want to say he didn't have regrets, but I'm sure he was happy to have lasted this long. Yes. and to have done what he did and to have seen what he's seen and been able to work with as many people as he worked with and what have you, you know, so.
And help it move it along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's what it's really all about.
One of the sad things is I saw a post from Chris Ken, and apparently I wasn't able to find them. I went looking for them,
Uh-huh.
because I wanted to cuss somebody if I found it, right? So, but Chris Kent said that somewhere in the midst of people posting condolences, there are people talking crap about who's certified to teach what.
Really?
Yeah. You know, the friggin', you know, I don't even call those people JKD people, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not JKD people, but it's like
No.
some people just have no class.
Right.
No class.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And
right.
and they always sink to the lowest point.
Right.
Whenever something comes up. I mean,
Right.
here's a guy that spent time with Bruce Lee.
Right.
He passes away.
Right.
And their best contribution is to bring up crap about who's certified.
Right.
You know,
right.
like,
and they should be willing to study up under him. Like, what did Bruce show you? What did he tell you? Show me.
Right. Exactly. You know, it's like, okay, so I noticed that you guys refer to yourselves as the Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute. All right. So in your mind, why do you pick that name? Do you guys identify as something other than whatever? Can you help me to understand
exactly
lineages and whatever? Can you do you have any stories about maybe, you know, after Bruce Lee left and went to Oakland, did you guys from Seattle ever go over to Oakland and hang with those guys? What was the interaction there and whatever? That's what you want to know.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to know.
Yeah. Not who certified that? Shut the hell up. Right. It's so small-minded.
Yes.
It's so small-minded.
But you know what, like I was saying, sometimes you think, you know, I'm 62. Do you think sometimes age, I'm saying, has something to do with it? You know, you start really thinking that, hey, you know, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And we're all trying to make it through this thing called life.
Yeah.
And to appreciate what Bruce did for us, he set me on a journey that blew my mind.
Right.
And I'm still on this journey since I was 17.
Right.
Yeah. I'm 62.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to talk to Sifu Dan. And also I want to say this to you and to all the JKD community. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. It's because it's a journey. It's a journey, man.
I got your message. All of your message for the last 3 years. I got it.
Yeah.
And thank you. And thank all of you guys.
So I should tell you, I should tell anybody who sees this, every once in a while after I do the Wednesday broadcast or after I do a Friday dialogue with somebody, Joseph will send me a little note, a little email note, and they're quite encouraging. And a lot of times he blows my mind with a piece of information that he has that I had never heard of or what have you.
Right.
But yeah, see, I think sometimes the problem, Joseph, is that there's a clip. Do you remember The Way of the Warrior? The Way of the Warrior, that documentary from the BBC from '82 or so, right? Yeah. So when they do the episode on Kung Fu, profile Master Chan in Hong Kong, who's like a Five Animals. Right. Then they profile Simon Lau in London, and then they profile Dan Ensano.
Right.
In the Simon Lau segment, there was something he said, and I heard him say this, and I committed it to memory. He talked about the situation where the student's physical ability is not yet up to the standard of what his mind wants to do. Right. Right. And I thought to myself, that is a perfect description of what happens to some people in their journey. Their mind, right, can conceive of a thing, but their body is not at that stage yet. Right. Exactly. You know? Right. But now here's the thing. Sometimes in JKD, it seems as if we have the opposite situation, where we have people who physically are capable of stuff,
Right.
but mentally and psychologically, they didn't get what Bruce Lee was preaching.
Exactly.
They didn't get it.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's when you get people harping over and over again. Like Mark Stewart said the other day, beating a dead horse. Because last week's broadcast, I asked people about their personal definitions of Jeet Kune Do. Remember?
Right.
Right?
You
Okay.
sure did. Mm-hmm.
And people start arguing about Ted Wong versus Dan Inosanto.
Mm-hmm.
Who spent longer? Who got what from Bruce Lee? And I'm thinking, what the hell does that have to do with your personal definition of Jeet Kune Do? I want to know, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I want you to tell me,
right,
what have you come up with to say in conversation with people when people ask you a question about Bruce Lee and you and Jeet Kune Do and whatever? I want somebody to tell me, what's your definition?
Great. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I say that. And like I said, you might not physically be able to do it all, but it's up here. It's in the mind. Yeah. And I know, what's the guy that has the books in New York? I love him.
Kevin Seaman?
No. The guy that had all the books. You said something to him and he got mad. What's the guy?
Torres. Richard Torres, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, no. Richard's never gotten mad at me. I tricked Richard when we did our first dialogue, because he's been on like 4 times now. When we did our first dialogue, I tricked him and I said, I don't like you very much. Right? And like his face changes because he doesn't know where I'm going with this, right?
Right.
And then I told him it's because I envy his collection.
Right.
And I was just teasing. I was just kidding around with him.
Right. I forgot what I was going to say. He said something that I thought was very profound. But all you guys have, but it'll come to me.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing, right? See, my contention, and I've spoken to my students about stuff like this, because sometimes my students will come to me and they'll ask about, well, who's this guy from this lineage and who's that guy from this lineage and whatever, right? And I always, not always, but many times I say, okay, so you've seen the Bruce Lee interview. And Bruce Lee says that until human beings have a different anatomical structure, we're pretty much all going to be doing the same thing. Right. Because the human body is limited in whatever. All right. So to me, Joseph, that is a clue. That's an insight into Bruce Lee's mentality.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So the way that I use that in my own life is, obviously, if all of us have Bruce Lee in common,
right?
You see,
right? The sign, the guidepost,
right? Yeah. If all of us have Bruce Lee in common, that is akin to having the same basic anatomical structure.
Exactly.
You see,
I got you.
So Bruce Lee preached that we're not going to do things very differently because we're all human beings.
Right.
So I preach that since we all have Bruce Lee in common,
right?
What the hell are we what would we
talking about? Right.
What are we fighting for?
Right.
It's almost like if people didn't learn their lesson from Judaism and Christianity, right? And Hinduism.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
They all have Abraham in common.
Right. Yes, that's true.
Then relax.
Right. You know what? I just remember what Torres said. He said that what was driving Bruce, it wasn't so much this, it was this.
Yeah.
That's what was driving him.
And that's the thing. See, that's what's so marvelous about Jeet Kune Do. You don't even have to attach yourself to the physical stuff.
Right.
You just do all the philosophical stuff and you will benefit greatly.
Exactly. And it help you learn to live your life,
Right?
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get over struggles and
Yeah.
just try to make it through life, man.
Right.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
So it's like I said about your background there, the books, man.
Man, I've been on this journey since I was 17, and
Yeah.
I'm still on this journey. And you know what, Dwight? It gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason
Uh-huh.
to focus myself
Uh-huh.
and to develop. And it bled over into other things in my life. It's
Right.
just crazy.
Yeah.
And I tell you this. I know when I came from Japan and I got stationed in New Mexico, that was my last base. I read an article in Black Belt magazine where Bruce read this guy turned Bruce on to Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And so that night while I was in the they give us a month to get orientated, right?
Uh-huh.
So as soon as I read that in the magazine, that night I went down to Barnes and Nobles and brought that book.
Yeah.
And that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And man, I've been following that book ever since. But he put a warning. The guy said, like, look, if you violate it, it's going to mess you up. And I understand. But because of that, I followed it to the letter.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. And he said, don't worry about what's going to give it to you.
Right.
It'll give it to you, but don't you worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. And I'm in a unique position, and I want to contribute to the JKD community because I love it. I love it.
Have you read any other of Napoleon Hill's stuff?
I got them all.
You got a section? You got a section?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You see it?
Yeah.
That's all of it right there.
The latest thing that I read and by latest I don't mean like recently, it's probably about 5 years ago, because the Napoleon Hill Foundation, they still put stuff out.
Yes.
And so the last thing of his that I read was it was something that was never published. It was written in 1938, I think.
Okay.
Never published. It's called 3 Feet from Gold.
Really? I got to look that one up.
Yeah, check that out. That's actually, I believe that is the first audio book that I bought. I mean, I bought the hard copy, and I bought the audio book too, so that I would read, listen in the car, right? Come back to read and pick up reading where I left off in the car, right?
I did the same thing.
Right.
When I was living in Pennsylvania, I'm in Florida now. But when I was living in Pennsylvania and I was going up to Jersey, right? And that's a 2-hour ride one way, 2.5 hour ride one way. And I had a cassette of Christian Moody.
Okay.
And I plugged it in, and for 9 months, going back and forth, I got an education.
Yeah.
Really
exactly. Yeah. Brian Tracy is the guy who turned me on to the concept of auto university.
Right.
And when I heard that, I stopped listening to the radio in the car.
Okay, really?
Oh yeah.
So you plugged in the tapes and stuff and started listening?
Whatever it was, man. Right. That's how because I think back then my commute was about 20 minutes. Because I was either coming from Miami Beach over to Kendall or from Coconut Grove or something. So I had a little bit of a commute. But yeah, I enrolled in Automobile University.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. And I got I got such an education.
Yeah.
That's like going to college.
Yeah.
And it really did. And I got them all, the subliminal too. I got them all in.
What else, wouldn't you love to be granted access to Bruce Lee's library and see everything?
Ooh, yes.
Because I am convinced if he had Think and Grow Rich, if he had Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking,
I got that too.
Right. If he had J. Paul Getty's How to Be Rich.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure he would have Maxwell Maltz's
Cybernetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah.
I got all that.
I was dropping names because I knew you would know them.
Yeah, I know. I got them all.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I am sure Bruce Lee had those recordings probably or what have you. I guarantee you.
But you know what? Because of him,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, I wouldn't know who these guys even were.
Right.
Because of Bruce.
Yeah.
I was following him and following Dan, Seafood Dan.
Right.
And I want to thank him too. And him and Richard, I know he passed on, but he's probably watching. Yeah. No, he's probably in Hawaii.
Well, I mean, you know, since Taky Kimura joined them yesterday,
Taky Kimura too. Yeah,
a party going on. A JKD party going on up there now, man.
And if you would tell Seafood Dan, I really appreciate what he had done. He's such an example, and we love him. I love him, even though I can't train with him like I want to.
Yeah,
but he's really an example what a real martial art instructor should be. That I ran across some. Ooh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I tell people sometimes the biggest problem with Inosano is that he's too open-hearted.
Yeah, too nice.
Right. Too open-hearted.
Yeah.
And you know sometimes you got to be careful, man, because you can't trust everybody.
Yeah.
Out there in let's call it the business world, because there came a point where business was applied to Jeet Kune Do.
Yes.
It had to because
he has to make Bruce had to make a living.
Right. You see, so even that aspect, some people frown on it. There's like, oh, well, this guy and that guy, he's just going after the money. He's just using Bruce Lee's name.
Dan has to make to make a living too, but he gave us much more than money.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? He gave us a lot more. He got to make a living, but that's okay. It's okay for him. We give him a pass.
Just the other day, another JKD family member passed away. Did you know Sean Madigan, Big Sean? He was one half of the Dudes of Kung Fu podcast.
Maybe if I see him, I know him. You know, if I see him.
Yeah. Well, Big Sean passed away.
Wow.
A few weeks ago as well. But in one of his last episodes, I think it's in the very last episode, I think, he said that he could see Bruce Lee going into business.
Of course.
And opening up schools. And
of course.
Terry Valler has joined.
Hey, Terry.
Guys.
Of course.
All right, Terry, you're on mute. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Is that better?
Hey.
That's much better.
Hey.
Hey,
How
Terry, do you know Joseph Powell?
No.
First time meeting. Good to meet you.
Well, Joseph, let me tell you, Terry is usually more clean cut than that. But
okay, let me tell you a secret.
That's the COVID look.
Yeah. Lockdown looks.
Hey, let me tell you a secret. A half an hour ago, I look like him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did it. This is my coming out party. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Hey, well, Terry, welcome, man. We were just talking about Sean Madigan's unfortunate passing, and and how he had, in the last episode of Dudes of Kung Fu, he had said that he could see a future in which Bruce Lee had become commercial and had opened up branches of schools and what have you. He said he could see that simply because Bruce Lee didn't have a problem with making a living.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that post on Facebook?
I did, yeah. I watched it when it was put up, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because there was a lot of interest, obviously, at the time, even now, but at the time, you know, even because Sifu Inosanto and Richard Pastillo had a massive waiting list, didn't they?
Right.
When they first started. So it makes sense, doesn't it? Bruce was the height of his fame. It was new. The
Mhm.
art wasn't out there like it is now.
Yeah.
I think the interest would have been very high.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, Bruce Lee, when I was studying, and I think I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but when I was studying business, well, not even business, when I was studying marketing, how to use marketing in your martial arts school, one of the things that I came across was, I think it's called the pyramid of influence, right? And so at the bottom of the pyramid, you have the generalists, right? And then I'm going to mess this up, but the level above the generalist was maybe the expert or whatever, and then above that, and what have you. But in any case, at the top of the pyramid would be like the celebrity specialist, right? So it probably went like generalist, specialist, celebrity specialist, probably something like that, right? So if you think about it, the most famous psychologist in the world is probably Dr. Phil.
Mm.
But within the field of psychology, he's not the most respected.
Yeah.
There are people who are much more highly respected by other psychologists than Dr. Phil, but we don't know their names.
Right. Yeah.
You see, because they are not celebrity specialists.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Right.
Yeah.
The same thing with Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
Right. Now, here's what they taught us. That one key to get into the top of the influence pyramid was speaking
Yeah.
and writing.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that, and I go, well, how did Bruce Lee meet Linda Emery? You know?
Mm-hmm. It was through speaking.
He was giving a talk,
a lecture
at Garfield High School.
Right. He's giving a lecture.
Yes.
Right.
So who the hell told Bruce Lee that part of the pyramid of influence is speaking? Who told him to lecture?
Somebody taught him.
Right?
Somebody, because he had that gift.
Yes.
He can speak.
So another part of the pyramid of influence is being an author.
Yes.
How old was he when he published Philosophical Art of Self-Defense?
Oh, 19, 20 years old. He was
right?
young.
As the cool kids say, what's up with that?
Right. He was young.
Right?
He was young. He was way ahead of his time. He really was. So, and I see why, you know what? And also I like to thank Sifu and Aseno, because he put out, I got all his seminars, DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I wonder, you know, how does he really feel, you know, about following this young kid? This guy, young kid, is smart. And then he really let it out, like, you know, hey, I must be crazy to follow this kid. How you know, how many years older than Bruce was he? 4 years. Yeah. And he said all of them, Daniel Lee, all of them said, we got to be crazy to follow this kid. Mm-hmm. you know? Yep. But this kid was very smart. You know, and Richard Torres says this is brain, man. That's what was driving it, you know? Yeah, and that's the thing, right? That's the thing. If you know how to recognize genius, right? Then you know how to recognize genius, and you don't care. Now, of course, if you're full of yourself, if you're full of yourself, or if you're actually insecure in yourself, yes, you'll find all kind of problems with following that genius. Right, I got you. But that ain't Dan Asano. No, it's not. Right? Yeah, he's a genius himself. I mean, look, sometimes it's so confusing, right? Yeah, because, like one of my students will say, "So, tell me about Salem Asli." And I'll go, "Okay." I go, "Well, I got to explain this to you. Salem is my junior in Jeet Kune Do because I was with Asano a year before Salem." Really? But Salem is my teacher. Right. Yeah. In boxe française. Right. Exactly. Right. I go, and that weird relationship also exists with our instructor, Dan Asano. Right. Okay. Right? Because Salem is Asano's JKD and Kali's student. Right. But his teacher in boxe française. Right. I got you. Okay. Now, how many people off the top of your head, Terry,
How many people does Inasano have that unique relationship with?
10, probably.
Probably,
Yeah.
right? Because Eric Paulson is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yuri Nakamura is
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
I think Roy Harris was one, wasn't he? Didn't he do some privates
Yeah.
with Roy for a little while?
Right. And then, I mean, but Paulson but Yuri Nakamura and Salem are the ones that stand out for me. But there's so many people.
Yeah.
There's so many people that while Inasano was teaching them his stuff, he was learning their stuff.
Yeah, right. He sure was. And
right?
Hartzell,
Mm-hmm.
Larry Hartzell,
Mm-hmm.
with the grappling, a lot of the grappling.
Well, so my understanding about the grappling is that Inasano was a major influence on Hartzell.
Yeah.
In the grappling.
Right.
You know, Bruce Lee liked him because of his size,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of depth of material,
Mm-hmm.
the depth of material came through Inasano and Hartzell doing stuff together.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. Hey, can I ask you one question?
Mm-hmm.
When you had the big school,
Mm-hmm.
did you give private lessons?
I hated private lessons at the time.
How come?
Because I was doing so much teaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? That the idea of the one-on-one and going over the stuff that I was teaching every week, it was not at all appealing to me. And I realized that that's the reason. I realized it now, because after I closed the school, I had 5 private clients.
Okay.
And I had no problem training them. But it's because I wasn't teaching as much group stuff
Right.
as before. So I was not a big private lesson guy for 20-something years, not at all.
Okay. Terry, do you teach private lessons along with your class or by itself? I'm just wondering.
At the moment, I don't teach because I don't have the time. Other stuff takes over at the moment, but I prefer to teach privately because I thought you could get the message across easier.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't, I had a full-time place at one time, but yeah, it was more MMA, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, the JKD stuff comes from private lessons because it was easier to push over the message that I was trying to do.
Right. Because you know what, I was thinking about running a big school because that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
To open up a big school and get all you guys to come out, Seafood Dan and all you guys to come out, but they just want some. I'm in West Palm Beach area, and they want an arm and a leg and sell your firstborn.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, trying to run a school. Now I see that most JKD guys are teaching out of the garage, or teaching privately,
Yeah.
But I think that's what Bruce said anyway, that it's a one-on-one thing. It's not so much a big group thing,
Right.
And I know Bruce telling Dan that, just take a few guys, go in the backyard and do your thing and learn it that way.
Yeah. But see, so if I could be so bold as to say that I disagree with Bruce Lee on something,
Okay.
it would be on something like that. Because see, there's no challenge really in keeping it small and private or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is in, like Terry was talking about, message. The challenge is in getting your message out there on a larger basis.
Okay.
While maintaining integrity.
Yes.
That's because that's the trick.
Right.
You see? So to me, that's where the challenge was.
I got you. You know what? It made me think, you and I converse a lot and talk, it sends each other's messages about the Okinawa. You know what I found out about the Okinawa rules, karate art.
Mm-hmm.
The self-defense art is being in Okinawa, they have to go competition like the Japanese in order to stay in existence. And I like, wow. They said that the competition was actually wiping out the traditional Okinawa art, and they have to change to go competition. But just think how much is lost when they do that. You know, it's sad. You know, and I think kind of Jeet Kune Do kind of the same way. I know you say, you know, going commercial, there's a big, you know, how much do we have to give up? But like you said, it's the quality that we still have to push.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
I got it.
Hang on a second there, Joseph. All right. Is your audio on now, Mr. Rudie?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yep. We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
All right. Everybody say hello to Shaun Rudie.
Hey, how you doing?
This
How
is
you doing?
Hey, Florida is ruling in this house.
About
Right? Florida.
I don't know if that's a good thing or.
Hey man, look, listen. Let me tell you something. If I could get Shaun Rudie to come in on my live stream, I'm doing it right.
Doing something right.
I'm doing it right.
I'm honored to be here. That's all.
Terry and all you guys, I watch y'all videos very much. Both of you, I really do.
So
Cool.
I'm so impressed.
You know Shaun stuff
Thank you.
from Core
Thank
JKD?
Yeah. I watch it on YouTube.
Terry,
Cool.
Terry, do you know Shaun stuff? Core JKD?
I'm not that familiar, a little bit, but not that familiar. If I'm really honest with you. Research
when you're done, go check out, rip off as much of his stuff as you can, because he puts some good wicked stuff out there for free. Rip it off as much as you can.
In fact, I was watching some of it today.
Right? but just give credit.
or at least trade it so well that you're just going to survive in whatever you do. That's enough for me, you know.
Okay, so since I have the three of you here, let's conduct the experiment. Right. So I was complaining before, Terry, before you and Ming came on, I was complaining to Joseph that I had done the broadcast about personal definitions of Jeet Kune Do. Now, Terry is the only person who apparently listened to the podcast until the end. Everybody else starts commenting and it degenerates into an argument about Bruce Lee, about Bruce Lee and Dan Inosanto private time versus Bruce Lee and Ted Wong private time. Terry's the only person that gave me a definition. So I'm going to put you guys on the spot now. So somebody is interested in what you do and says to you, I hear that you're a Jeet Kune Do guy.
Yeah.
What is Jeet Kune Do? So
go ahead.
Yeah, no, Ming, you go first.
Oh, okay. For myself, I tell people that it is training for self-defense for single versus single and multiple opponents with and without weapons in a variety of environments. And it's survival based on that. So all of the training is geared toward that, period. With and without weapons, single and multiple opponents in a variety of environments, period.
Okay.
And I think that sums it up for me.
Okay. Yeah, because I should tell you, one of the rules of the experiment is that it has to be like a 60-minute definition. I mean, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. A 60-second. I'm sorry.
A 60-second.
Yes.
No.
Let me put an addendum on there because so I'm going to stretch this to 60 seconds.
Right.
There are some physics-based, resistance-based qualifications for the techniques used in Core JKD specifically, but also in Jeet Kune Do, because Bruce Lee was refining his process as he grew into himself.
Right.
So this is the same thing that we do, which is there are efficient methods that cover the majority of individuals versus something that works just for the 250-pound guy versus the 100-pound person. There is a refined methodology and a physics-based methodology that works for just about the majority of the people who I can train.
Right.
And then it's just slight modifications there to their own individual qualities.
You know why I'm smiling? Because you gotta love a JKD nerd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You gotta love a JKD nerd. Right? Okay, so let me reiterate the rules of the experiment. So it's somebody who is interested in what you do. It's not somebody who will understand.
Yeah, there we go. There you go.
It's not somebody who will understand that there's modifications and that, you know, resistance training and whatever. No. All right? Okay? All right, wait. I
yield the floor.
Let's bring one more into the party.
All
right? Okay. Stuff is about to hit the fan.
I know who that
is. Stuff is about to hit the fan.
Yeah. I got, and I just want to say I got all your DVDs, all of them.
He might not hear it. Hang on one second. He might not hear us yet. So until he's unmuted,
there you go.
Until he's unmuted, we could just talk crap about Steve Grody while he can't hear us, right? While he can't hear us, and since I have control over everything, I can turn his audio off anytime I want to say something about it. Right? So it's very kind of you to show up fashionably late.
I was just saying, am I fashionable enough?
Hey, I just want to tell you, I got all your DVDs, all of them. I studied
thanks, man.
I got it.
I appreciate that.
I got it.
Hey, Steve.
Steve, Mr. Grody, do you recognize everybody here?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So Joseph, you introduce yourself to Steve Grody.
My name is Joseph Powell. And when back in 1977, that I started to research the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. And I was about 17 or 18. And I'm on the Tao. And I've been on that journey. And I'm 62 now. And I finally found the last book 3 years ago.
Oh, did you?
Whose last book?
The last book that Bruce used to get some information.
Oh.
Yeah.
I finally found the last one 3 years ago, and I'm 62.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph and I met when he was stationed. The first time he was stationed in Florida, he came over to my warehouse, and that's when I found out that. So this is pre-internet,
right?
But he was on a quest to find all the source material for the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Right, so that's how we know each other.
Right, and I visited and came to his school and trained.
Yeah,
and out with Dan. I saw, you know what? When I was out at the IMB, I saw Steve. I saw you there. You came to visit there, and I saw you. And I saw Ted Lukai. He came, and I saw him. He just came to talk to Dan. I seen when y'all came in.
Yeah, well, you know, Steve Grody is a little bit of a
choose your words now. Choose your words now.
I know, because when I met him in the 80s, I'm not sure if it's because of him that the term came into use, but there was a thing called martial arts whore, right? And it was used for people who got around.
Wait. Martial arts what?
Right?
Martial arts.
Yeah, I
accept the term. I accept the term happily.
Yeah, it referred to people who would do anything with anyone for any price, anywhere. Right?
I'm faithful. I believe in being respectfully disloyal to everybody. And what I mean, of course, is that, you know, it's like I was never interested in choosing, say, Ted Wong's perspective versus Dan and Asano's perspective,
Right.
versus somebody else's perspective. It was always, you got something to say? I'm interested to hear it. I'm interested to see it.
Right.
And then I will, and I know this is a really original thought, I will research my experience, you know, absorb what is useful, and so on and so forth. And, you know, and, you know, the kind of, I just appreciated, you know, I was just interested in what people have to say,
Right.
you know,
So when you came into the conversation, we were going around the room, and everybody was given their 60-second personal, right? Their 60-second personal definition of Jeet Kune Do. So we'll defer to you, because you're probably the most senior out of all of us.
Yeah.
well, that doesn't mean I'm the most knowledgeable, you know. I mean, I really, you know, I respect the research you've done, Dwight, and that, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's, I kind of go, the simplest definition that that I have is going back to Dan and Asano's, and that was because I felt so bad for him. There were times when people would literally follow him around the room with a list from, there was one guy that was it Kaju Kembo or something, or somebody was following him around the room with this list saying, see, our people, we combine all this stuff and do it, so we're Jeet Kune Do too. He just wanted Dan to say, yes, you're doing in your style, which is not the Jeet Kune Do tradition, you're doing Jeet Kune Do. Are you happy now? Go home now. Go away. Stop following me. But the point is, what Dan would say is, look, if you're putting a bunch of stuff together, and the Chinese, I think everybody knows that the Chinese epithet for just throwing something together at random is chop suey. That's the Chinese traditional way. Oh, it's just chop suey. And that's what people said about Jeet Kune Do originally, because they were just pissed off that he was doing something, the Bruce was doing something new. What Dan Inosanto would say is that when we say research, number one, research your experience, that means, that is referring specifically, if you're talking about being part of the Jeet Kune Do process in the Jeet Kune Do tradition, research your experience means going through the Jeet Kune Do curriculum.
Gotcha.
That's researching your experience.
Gotcha.
Then once you have done the Jeet Kune Do, as you're researching the Jeet Kune Do curriculum, you absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add specifically what is your own.
Gotcha.
And that, so that 4-step process with the Jeet Kune Do physical curriculum, Jun Fan Jeet Kune Do curriculum, that is Jeet Kune Do in the simplest definition.
Got it.
In my understanding, which I don't care about. I don't care about my own understanding.
I'm going to make a special note of what you just said. I am going to cut it out of the finished product, and I'm going to put that up as its own clip. Because, right? Because, okay, so hands up, we have all heard, I mean, I even named it the 4 tenets of Jeet Kune Do, right? Research, absorb, reject, add. But have you ever heard anybody define that first tenet, research your own experience, and indicate that it is within the training of Jeet Kune Do that you research your own experience? Have you ever heard anybody break it down that way?
No, I haven't.
No.
I have.
Yeah.
Terry, have you?
I thought the Ted Wong guy seemed to. That's how I gathered what Bob Landers, when I spoke to him, and people like that seemed to. But yeah, a little bit.
I never even thought of that.
No, I haven't.
So I
either.
guess Steve Grody is smarter than I am. God damn it.
Or more of a horror than you, at least.
Yes.
I accept that. I accept that.
Yeah, but you know what? It's something I wanted to say something that really happened to me. And that's why I say that all of this knowledge, and I see what Dan was talking about too. And Bruce was saying that all knowledge, helps. That the way I carry myself, right? And with confidence. And trust me, when I came back to Florida, it took me 3 years to find this house. I was up in Fort Lauderdale. Then I finally came down to Peanut Island, the West Palm Beach area, then Palm Beach Garden. The lady at she lived up here, and she said, it's going to take you there in West Palm Beach and Hollywood. And I was going to buy a home. She told me it's going to take you 3 years to find a house. She was right. Okay. I've been approached by different people to want to bully and want to rob me. But the way I carry myself,
I've apologized. I've apologized.
but it's just, that's why I say JKD for me has gone beyond
Right.
the physical.
Yeah.
Because the way I handle it, they was puzzled. And
Yeah.
they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And other people looked at me too, like, wow, what did you do? What you call them once described me at one time. This is crazy, but I'm telling you, it happened. Brown, Mr. Brown, he said that he sounded like he's a Jedi. So you don't want me. You want him. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to rob me. You want to talk to him.
Mm.
And I kept walking. And that, to me, it's like my mind and self-esteem was intact.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about how will I handle that guy. I know I was going to handle
Yeah.
him.
Hey, you just gave me an idea. So I have a second experiment, but first Terry has to give us his. Did you give us your definition of Jeet Kune Do, Terry?
No, not on here. I did on the post ages ago.
Okay, well, you got to do it for everybody here now. So you got 60 seconds, and I'm timing you. God.
I'd say learn the Jun Fan Gong Fu, spar it, train it, test it, pressure test it, and then look at different arts to fill in holes that is in your own game. So it's a principle-based system.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So here's the second experiment. And again, it's self-serving because it's based on this past Wednesday's broadcast, which was titled Using Jeet Kune Do Principles in Normal Life. So think about that for a second, and then tell me a story about that. The application of JKD principles in normal life. So outside, if possible, outside of the sphere of martial art.
Sure. I mean, to me, it's about, again, researching and seeing and feeling what's right for you, rather than looking for who are the cool kids to be loyal to, who are the cool kids, how can I be, be considered hip, but you're trying to find something that's true to you. That's what I do. That's what I do with music. That's what I do with swing dance. It was interesting because the all the stuff, all the conflict in martial art is the stuff that people have conflicts because they start to identify too strictly with a particular point of view. And there were wars back in the early jazz era of the sweet jazz people, so-called sweet jazz versus hot jazz. And people were getting into fistfights over what was the best jazz. Who cares? Dude, listen to what you want to listen to and play it the way you want to play it.
Right.
And somebody starts playing something wrong, but they start to play it with enough authority. And after a certain time, that becomes the whoever's method. I mean, Wes Montgomery play jazz guitar wrong until people thought, well, you know what? I think I want to learn from some of what Wes Montgomery was doing.
Exactly.
And so on and so forth. That, you know, and as Paul Simon said, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. But one thing I would add is that the research or experience thing is my biggest teacher. And it sounds arrogant. What else is new? This sounds arrogant, and that is that there's the curriculum I've learned from teachers, but then just in messing with people, there are always those moments where I've done something, but I thought, well, where did that come from? What was that? And it wasn't from anything I learned. It was just a reaction. You know, sometimes it's something awful, but those are things that I, you know, reject, you know, or try to not do again. But they're some of the most useful things for me are things that came out of a spontaneous moment rather than something that I learned from somebody. Right. And that's why I kept a blackboard. It was less for students. It was supposed to be for students, but I would say, okay, so let me just show you what just happened. Let's put this down here so we can remember to work on it again. I'm writing it down for me. I'm not really writing it down for them. Right. I'm going, wow, that was cool. Thank you, brain. Thank you, body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, brain. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, Ming, go.
A lot of it is just in my interactions with people. It's, you know, when you get to work with Cass Magda, Professor Salem, Dan Inosanto, the whole bit, you realize it's not just them, it's everybody who's drawn to their presence, and then you have to interact with each and every one of them. And it's the same way with the people I train, as well as as well, you know, if you're on YouTube and you've got like a massive audience, you will get challenged from every corner of the planet. And it's how do you connect with each person regardless of their ego, regardless of their previous training, regardless of where they're culturally from, regardless of their intent with you right then and there. Some are just angry people who just want to have a voice, and you have to be able to navigate that using everything, all of your experiences, to find some commonality, to bring out in them something that is similar so that you can communicate on a level where we both understand each other as non-threatening, but wanting to bring out the best in each other.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's kind of the JKD is bringing out the best in each other, period. So with me, it's a lot in the interactions with a variety of people who have such range emotionally, intellectually, physically, with what they intend on doing, and how much you can be a positive influence in that. And as all of the people who I've been fortunate to be with in my life were a positive influence on me to bring out the best in me. And a lot of it was through resistance, and the resistance was my own ignorance, and knocking that down enough so that I could receive people and ideas and things a lot better, and without that first, like when I'm sparring, you know, I want to meet whatever's coming, you know, and it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's literally, if it's a 7 foot tall, 300-pound dude, I'm right up there in my head. He's the same size as I am. Yeah. And when we get into it and we're grappling, we're punching, we're doing whatever else, we are the same after we've exerted ourselves, and we find this bond after that strong engagement. Yes. You are more of a friend. You are more of a comrade, so to speak, in arms. It's really quite cool. But you bring everything you are, and you refine it through that resistance, and boom, you know, there it is.
Because, you know, I deal with some amateur and professional boxers. Same thing with them. But once they go around, they're friends.
Yes. Yeah.
They're really
Totally.
They got
Totally.
combat out.
It's a deeper connection. It's really cool.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
Mhm.
Right. Terry?
I use it in security management. The principle's always good. You know, with everything's changing. Sometimes things change on an hourly basis or a minute basis. And then you absorb experiences. And so you use all the principles and just use it for that. Sometimes even in sport, if I'm playing football or soccer, as we call it over in the UK, or you call it America, sorry. But
Oh yeah. They don't know how to call it.
right.
As a former Britisher, right? They don't know how to call it. All right. Harry, have you ever tried to explain cricket to an American?
I don't even understand cricket, and I'm from England, so I give that a wide berth.
Okay.
Isn't he using like a spanking stick for hitting something?
Oh man!
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
Listen, the second that you tell them that you run with the bat, they check out mentally. They cannot grasp that.
I did not even know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no drop the bat and run
Wow.
the first base nonsense. No. Right. Hey, so listen. So I was having a conversation with my favorite Canadian JKD senior, and I'll let y'all work out who that is. And we were talking about sparring, and I was saying, so we know that Bruce Lee put, and I thought of this because of what Ming just said. We know that Bruce Lee put a heavy emphasis on all-out sparring, right, as a Jeet Kune Do training method. But we all know that all-out full contact sparring is not good for your head.
No, it's not.
This is true.
Okay. So what modifications have you made, if any? Because Steve Grody, what is your higher consciousness through harder contact name?
I was not consulted on anything I was called. It was. So I think I've heard several, but I'll let you. You seem to remember more than I do.
Okay. Right. But from what I know, you hung with those guys more than any of the rest of us.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know because I can't remember anything.
A testament to the sparring on the head.
Right. Okay.
Welcome to the club.
Right. No. So, but in all seriousness, right? In all seriousness, when I guess with the proliferation of BJJ over the past couple of decades, the term resistive or a resisting opponent, whatever format of the word resist we use.
I hear non-cooperation sometimes.
Okay, right. So that came into vogue as well, right? So what I'm asking is for you guys to tell me what your approach to that is, and how is it related to the sparring idea that Bruce Lee had back in the 60s about gearing up and going for it.
In my opinion,
Age before beauty? Is that what it is?
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
you got it. You got it. Who wants to go? Anybody can go.
It's your Florida county. Is the county south or north of the other person?
Okay,
right.
you can go. You got it.
True. Oh, for myself, it's I have red man gear. So a lot of that is progressively training. First of all, you can't just go sparring without having the individuals trained properly for how to protect their head, for how to protect it from damage, for how to move dynamically, receive the information from the environment so they can perceive that through periphery as well as through, contact, as well as through just direct sight. So they have to have that foundation because that minimizes the amount of damage that you'll get to your head. Now, I've had a...
Can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Can you
Yeah.
give me an idea of something that you do with a beginner to start developing that ability?
Seriously, it sounds silly, but playing tag.
Yeah.
We're playing tag, and we'll do it on the body, and then we do it up on towards the head. Just a nice little tap towards the top of the head, and it's really, try and tag me.
Yeah.
And we show how to work the footwork. So we'll break that down as I watch them, and then I start to say, okay, let's refine the footwork a little bit now, and then that will help them go into it. Because if you start telling them, this is the footwork, you've got to do it this way, and so forth, and a lot of people, it puts them in concrete, and they so want to have the footwork perfectly right that they're not paying attention to the fact that you just have to dynamically move with what your body already, how to walk, how to do these steps. Okay, so
are you talking about people who teach footwork patterns but never teach the application of it?
To some degree, there are those who do that, but
Have you ever seen that?
I have seen that once or twice. Yes, and it really kind of matters when it comes down to a fist coming at you, and then you'll get people who are so they have to themselves have to have it perfectly ingrained before they move on to the next step, because they've gone through institutional training, and that's what you got to do A before B and so forth. But the A in JKD and so forth is survive. So everything that you do is to make that happen. And so that means if your footwork isn't 100% right off the bat, that's okay. Did you avoid the hit on the head? Were you able to move back as you read the information from your opponent? Were you able to adapt quickly? Okay, if you weren't, let's look at that. Let's see what we can do to enhance that. And then that might include footwork training, which might be explosive training with the bands to get them to be able to move, 3, 4, 5 feet further in one push off than what they did before, because we train the muscles to work in that degree. But then, it's a matter that tag, I tell you, that works wonders, because a lot of us have already played tag. We know the rules. The only other rule that we have generally is you don't put your hands out, so that you're so far away from being tagged, because then you're open season on the head, center line, whatever else. So if you're playing tag, stay in your cover, stay in your Baijong cover, double arm block, whatever else you need, but head forward and play tag, man.
I don't think that it's you were demeaning it, and I think that that's absolutely spot on. The idea of playing tag, because when I think of some systems of yore where you learn form, and then all of a sudden they say spar, and there's
Right.
no
Don't get us started on that.
I mean, Dan and Asano talked about, he talked about a lot of times about how, over the years, people would always say, "Oh, come on, Dan, let's have a full contact. Let's do a contact sparring class, full contact sparring class."
Yeah.
And he said, I finally would get a class together, and everybody'd show up there, and they're just all like, "Oh yeah, let's go for it." And next week, half the people would show up.
Man, that's a fact. That is a fact.
Week, and and after about 3 weeks, it was just that one guy going, "Where'd everybody go?"
Right.
And so it has to be a progressive thing. My thing, since I by and large just teach 1-to-1, I say, look, if you want to do a bunch of contact sparring, go find a place where you can pound the crap out of each other and have that experience and get whatever you get out of it. Because I'm not going to be your punching dummy, and you're not going to be my punching dummy. I know people who shall remain nameless except in private conversations, and I'll still review that I really disrespect, because there's a guy that trained with me, and he learned my system, the way I do the covers and the way I put somebody up against the wall. and throw kind of a flow of broken rhythm strikes and stuff, where I take away all the footwork, so they just have to depend on the covers. But I just touch lightly,
right,
very, very lightly. But I also teach them right off the bat how to parry and cover and be economical, so that you can deal with broken rhythm in defense. And he didn't do that. He just put a student up against the wall and pounded on him.
yeah.
And when I found out that, I just thought, oh man, that just, so nobody's gonna, so I believe everything I do is geared towards the spontaneous moment, but it's going to be a touching thing.
Yeah.
Because I treasure my remaining brain cells. And when I found out that even, in soccer, football.
Thank you.
Using the head to knock the ball, that could cause a certain amount of what's it called now? Chronic
CTE or something.
Yeah, exactly. In any event, that could be a problem. I thought, well, for crying out loud, what my goal is, health and safety has to be first. And I'm glad I did the contact sparring I did during my younger and stupider days. But at this point,
right, when your brain could take
if somebody wants to do that, they're going to have to. I'm not going to pound on them. I just can't. I'm just not willing to
do it right.
Terry, Terry, do you think that the in some people the urge or the desire to get to the sparring is like a macho thing? They think if I'm sparring, then I'm tough and I'm doing things the right way.
Yeah, especially with beginners, people come in that they just want to start hitting straight away.
Yeah,
some people you can talk to. Some people just got to be smacked around until they realise that they're not quite that level yet. But that's something to, that's just life, though, isn't it? Some people learn the hard way, and some people don't. But we always did it, especially when we were prepping for fights and training for fights. It was always 90% light, 10% hard. Because we don't get injured,
right?
Especially if you're fighting,
right?
And then you isolate the jab, and maybe the hook, the cross, the clinch. On the ground, you isolate positions, and obviously, but the jiu-jitsu or the grappling, you can go 100% most of the time without getting injured, because obviously you can't start slamming on arm bars or kimuras and stuff like that. But the actual grappling part, you can go 100%, and that's why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and combat submission wrestling and stuff is quite popular, because you can go harder.
Absolutely, I agree, because it can be tested within those confines. Obviously, you can't pull on an eyelid or an ear or bite and all that stuff, but within those confines, you can come to.
Depends on.
I agree with you. I do. I like biting, but anyway. But if you can come to a satisfying conclusion of the contest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, even if you add punches in, they're going to be light, aren't they? So,
right.
You're on the ground, you can start adding hits on it. If you pad up with elbows, you can maybe put elbows, and we didn't tend to do that a lot. But you can go 100% on the ground and add just rabbit shots in, light shots for ground and pound or hitting. So and then you can go the whole MMA thing, can't you? You can stand up, like continuous stand up. And then on the ground you can go again, just what we did. Sometimes we threw in like weapons or stuff as well, but it all would depend on who we were with. Or, a lot of the time if we were fighting, then it would be just pure MMA rules. But to me, that's JKD anyway. It's in a format, it's in rules, but you're still on the fly. You still have to adapt. Why you got a game plan maybe, but when if it's not working, then you might have to adapt it. They might move differently to what you thought they were moving, so you have to adapt to that. Lead change, it just might be a slippery mat. You have to change again. So
right.
And you just do that in sparring, don't you? You just go into it allows the whole thing.
Joseph, are those your sparring notes there that you have?
Of course, I got to put them down. Hey, one thing I wanted to ask. I'm not that familiar. I am somewhat familiar with the BJJ. Rolling. Is that kind of like a kata before they freelance?
No, rolling is like, I'm sorry if anybody wants to
Anybody?
interrupt me. No, rolling is it's like freeform. It's like freeform sparring, but it's not to the degree where you're going to, tear off an arm or something like that. As Steve was saying, it's you can concentrate on certain techniques and just work a nice roll to get just that particular technique against that mild resistance and so forth. But it's a continual movement. It's a continual exercise. We do that. We call ours.
It's grappling. It's grappling chisao.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's an excellent way of putting it.
Yeah,
That's an excellent way of putting it. Seriously.
Okay,
Yeah.
would that be compared to like counter for counter?
Okay. All right. So he introduced this. So forgive me for jumping in. But one time on Joe Rogan's show, Joe Rogan said to somebody that Helion Gracie gave him the best description ever of jujitsu. And it was, you do this, I do that. You do that, I do this.
Right.
And I thought to myself, that's counter for counter.
For counter, exactly. That's what that is.
Right.
But that's the way you learn those individual holds and moves without getting beat up,
Right. So like Terry was saying, you isolate it.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I got you. Right.
You see?
Right. But I can tell you I've been in some amateur gyms and pro gyms, horror story. I can tell you them guys go at it sometimes.
Because they're not applying what Chris Kent says in probably every book that he's ever written on JKD, that you have to learn how to train intelligently.
Yes.
Or like Eric Paulson's take on that, which is partner preservation.
Right.
You see? So everybody ends up at the same point or headed in the same direction, even if some morons call it soccer and it's really football.
But you know what? Can I say this? When I got with the JKD group and I saw the Sabat and the way they train, they hit, you count them. They hit, but it's not so hard. They build up to that level.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes to get hit to the face, especially boxers. Hey, nobody likes to get hit to the face.
Right.
But I noticed from the Sabat, they build up to their level. They kick, you can take it. It's not that hard. Thai boxing does the same thing. When I
Ling Chun. In Ling Chun, in Thai boxing, they call it Ling Chun.
Yes.
That's what they call that.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when I got with the JKD, that's when I started learning with the different arts, how to train without getting your head knocked off. Boxing. And also in England, Paul Ingle, with his boxers, they don't go to the head. They go to the body.
See what I got here?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So let me test y'all. So when I started with Salem, he gave us 5 rules, right, for drilling in boxe française.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember them? 5 rules. Anybody?
Nope. Let me tell you what I remember from Professor Salam.
Okay.
He enjoyed me so much. He wanted to have me as the demo student for a particular sweeping leg back kick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I, up until that point, I wasn't very well versed on landing on my ass on my back.
I remember that very well.
That's one of the key points I remember from him. But to specific points, no. But it was the light flow sparring with him was great.
Steve, do you remember them?
I'm sorry. Did you say me?
Yeah.
No. Salem. My time with Salem was kind of earlier in his development, and so I didn't.
Okay.
I don't remember that in story. Listen, guys, I was just informed by my wife that we're about to sit down for dinner.
Okay.
And sorry to be so.
You're leaving us for the wife? How dare you?
Dude, yes.
He's applying it. He's applying his JKD, man.
How dare you? Hey,
He's
You
adapting.
know, what's the #1 principle? Survival.
That's right.
Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo.
But nice
Mr. Grody.
to see all you guys. Nice to
Thank
see all you
you.
guys.
Thank you
for showing up.
Hope to do
Yeah.
it again. Hope to do it again.
Oh yeah, for
Great.
sure.
Okay.
Really enjoy
For
your
sure.
DVD, by the way, Steve.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Steve.
Okay, see ya.
Guys. Bye.
All right, so here's what I remember. It was, then this is not in any specific order, but 1, stay in motion.
Mm-hmm.
2, use full extension of the limb.
Mm-hmm.
3, respect the range.
Right.
So kick when you're at a good kicking distance, punch when you're at a good punching distance.
Right.
4, go for the touch.
Touch. You must touch. Yeah.
Right?
Sure did. Yeah.
5, use control.
Yes. Yes.
I immediately
What's that
thought,
last one?
use control,
Control.
right?
I'm kidding.
I immediately thought we should be doing that in Muay Thai as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now, so that you take that idea from Boxe Française and you apply it to your Muay Thai training, and
Right.
all of a sudden, people are not getting hurt when they spar in Thai
Yeah.
boxing
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
And they can enjoy it.
Yes,
It's more enjoyable. And the same thing with boxing. I was saying that
exactly.
Paul Ingle in England,
hmm
he has his fighters after they learn their footwork, and when they spar, they do not go for the head. They punch for the chest. And you talking about their champions.
hmm
They go
Chris
for,
Eubank, was it?
yeah, they go for the chest.
hmm
He does not have them go for the head because he said you need your brain. He was right. So
Yeah.
he found a safer way to spar without getting your head torn off.
Right.
And I thought that was the, but Sabat, boxing too,
Mhm.
like I said, when I got with the JKD guys, they learned to control the punches. Sabat taught me how to control the punches.
Right. So what if Bruce Lee had been introduced to those 5 rules? You see, do you think that might have affected his idea of gearing up and going full-fledged?
I don't think he would have had as much deep knowledge on why you should eventually do things like that, because I think it's valuable. All of the hitting and the brain fuzz you get from some serious work makes you realize where the limits are,
Right.
to know just how far you can stress your body to within a a tenth of a second of knockout, and
Right.
even after, where you know, okay, well, that's about as far as I want to take it, and that's certainly, knowing this, I can now apply this to students and make sure that they don't go up to that point or beyond that point to where
Right.
they get injured to that degree. I don't think that he would have been as well educated had he not done the sparring the way he did.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And you know what, too? I like to add to that. I experienced it firsthand knowledge with amateurs and pros. They really did a number on me. And sometimes I forgot where I parked my car.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did a number on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put that with no one.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And I said, I don't know how they could do this from day to day. Carlos told me, I said, ask Carlos, how do you guys do? He was, I met him in Japan, and he was the #1 for the WBC, and I trained with him. He was teaching me. And those gloves, when they put it in, it's like a rock, like Mike Tyson. They showed one time putting his fist and through a wall before he went to fight. And I asked him, Carlos, how do you guys take those punches like that, day in and day out? He told me, Joe, eventually you get used to it.
Well, to some degree, that is true.
That is true. Yeah.
Let me interject how we train to preserve the head. You train the sparring, and like a lot of people say, well, you do the boxing and then you do the Muay Thai and then you do the savant and you do the. we train those elements so we understand where the break points are in the timing, so that we can trap, so that we can close to shooting range, so we can tie up and bind, so we can take them out of the tool set that they are functionally using and minimize it to a point where now you don't have those tools, and those were the only tools you had. I have a 360-degree tool set. So I can go on top of you, I can go under you, I can go around you, I can go over tables, against pillars, under 3 people. I can do all this. You have one tool set, and it's a boxing tool set.
Right.
All I have to do is train enough to know how to beat you at your tool set, so I get rid of your tool set by the interception, the trapping, the binding, and that sort of thing. So you don't have to play in their game. And in fact, that's sensible. You don't play in their strengths. And that's another JKD element.
Yeah.
You know, every time that I talk to my favorite Canadian JKD senior, I usually come away with 1 or 2 ideas for a broadcast, an I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast topic. Another source of ideas is my big brother, who is not a martial artist at all, right? He's a semi-professional musician, right? But I'm having that same experience here with you, Ming.
Feel free. Feel free.
You know, you're saying stuff, and I'm going, oh, I should ask everybody their experiences in this. So when you said the thing about one tool, did you ever read in Bruce Lee's commentaries on the martial way about defending against the knife, where he makes the comment that the guy with the knife has, let's call it a single point of attention, whereas you don't. You have all your tools. So your wording just now reminded me of that. So let's make that another experiment. So what's your take on that? That the Bruce Lee's idea that the guy who attacks you with the knife, you have a better chance of surviving because he is single pointed in his attention, whereas you are not.
As long as that person has the person who's defending has adequate and functional defense methods or interception methods and control methods, then it's fine. And then the person, and this is really interesting because when I train with the dull blades, or we do the dummy blades and so forth, people will, when they have that tool in their hand, it changes them because they do get singular focused. They do get to the point where they forget they got another hand to punch. Now, some, because of our training, we get them back into grabbing, pulling, so that you can pull and stab at the same time, or blind and stab and that sort of thing. But a lot of people forget they have another hand. And when you're binding and working that tool, they forget at times to let go of it, and that will release a lock. You know, the same thing with the stick. I'm sure you've encountered with some people. They will hold a stick and they'll be in this lock and it's tearing them up, you know, and they just can't. And you just say, let go of the stick. And all of a sudden they're out of the lock. That's kind of the mentality, because they forget that they weren't pushing on you to mess up with your base, to mess your base up, so that you now have to struggle not just against my fist, my mentality coming at you, but also if you push me off base, now I have to worry about falling, or I have to worry about taking a step. And in transition, am I weak in that point where you can now capitalize on that? And people forget that sort of thing. They get tunnel visioned on the tool, and it really does. I see it a lot. People will do that, and it's to their detriment, because they'll forget their surroundings at times, because they'll be up against a pillar or they'll be against an edge of a table and it's digging into their back, but they won't move because they're so focused on that blade and retaining it that they don't realize that, you know, I could pop off your arm at this point, you know.
Hey, Terry, what's the current status with blades in England?
As in
Because I remember what was the London mayor, Sadiq Khan? Didn't he ban at some point a couple of years ago? I'm trying to remember because the basic memory is that I don't know if England, but London, because there's a ban on firearms, people tend to have some type of blade more predominantly than you might encounter here in the States. So what is it? What's the current status regarding knife fighting and knife self-defense in England?
Well, no one's allowed to carry at all. Like, that is the law. No one's allowed to carry anything.
Okay.
Wow.
Even sprays and if that's all like a no-no.
Okay. So only the lawbreakers get to carry stuff.
Only criminal.
Yeah.
And the knife crime rate is very high, not just in London, but everywhere. We had a stabbing yesterday just down the road in Reading. Some 13-year-old got stabbed by another 13-year-old. And also just goes through the up and down the country, the same thing.
Right.
But so the knife culture is kind of, it's really bad over here at the moment. It used to be, when I was working in the police a long time ago, just teaching them, they were saying that a lot of some people, smaller structured people, would always carry because obviously there's a lot of bigger people around, so that was their way of dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So maybe the Asian community they were more worried than others because obviously the structures sometimes are bigger, smaller people.
Right.
So they would more carry. And now it's just everyone. You can't. There's no such thing as that. Everyone's carrying that, and yeah, the knife fatality over here is really high, especially in London, Birmingham. You know, across the country, there's nowhere. It used to be just London, and then maybe the cities, but now it's everywhere.
Yeah,
literally everywhere.
So how are people arming themselves with the ability to defend? I mean, what are you guys doing?
Nothing, if I'm honest with you, because nothing. I mean, obviously, this
I don't mean to laugh. I mean, it sounds absurd. Yeah.
And that's English government for you. But like I mean, obviously we did the Carly, so it gives us a bit of a fighting chance, and it gives us an idea of how to deal with stuff. But the general public, nothing. I mean, my partner, when she goes walking with a dog on her own, I gave her a Kuberton, metal Kuberton thing, and even that's illegal. When I was working with the police, I had that in my car.
Man.
Yeah.
And they said to me that's you're breaking law by having that in the car. It's only because I was doing a demonstration. Yeah. And so I got one of them, whether it's legal or not, I don't really care. And the link spray, do you know the tiny one link sprays you can get?
Yeah.
I give her one of them because at least that way you can just spray it in the eye if there's a problem. So there's two things. And obviously, poking the eye, kicking the groin is always good. Or even if it goes to the ground, like a scissor sweep. I've given her a few tools.
Right.
To be able to do.
Did you ever tell her? Did she ever think about taking up track and field?
Run foo. Yeah.
We got a pug. They don't like to run very far.
Okay.
So.
I have an idea, Terry. What about a non-standard cricket bat? That would be legal, wouldn't it?
Well, this yeah and no. If you carry that, there go. Well, you're not using it for its purpose.
Where's the game?
Well, I'm coming from a game, or I'm headed to a match. You know,
7 a.m. in the morning, going to work with.
That's there's general people that have no idea. Even self-defense stuff you don't really want to touch really, but that's why the Carly stuff is good. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, surely a cane is okay and that sort of thing. I'm assuming
you probably get away with a walking cane, but then the question is always like, why do you medically need that? That's the issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that's the trouble with the not just the government, the police. Not really. The police is not there really for. They're only enforcing what they've been told. But I think, yeah, it's the issue with the mentality over here.
Yeah.
No.
You know what? I was thinking about something because the older I've gotten, and then getting away more so from the physical so much. And
You're getting old.
Yeah, of course. and Dwight, you brought up an issue, and I think I've started doing it when I came. I've been doing it for a while, about talking your way out of a situation. Because like I said, I've done it several times, and that JKD to me has taken on a more deeper meaning. You know what I'm saying about talking my way or de-escalating the conflict. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I have done that several times, and to see what's really bothering this person. Yeah. And I can relate, and one of your guests talked about relating to the person who's trying to assault you. Something is really bothering them, you know. And I've done it several times and talked down. A guy just got out of Attica, and Ginger and I was going to a jazz concert in Reading. This guy came up to us. He was wearing a heavy coat, and he kept reaching in his pocket. He said, "Hey, can you guys get me a light?" And we was talking. Then he reached in his coat and said, "I got a gun." So I moved Ginger in back of me. So the more I talked to him, I was relating to him. He said, "I just got out of Attica." I'm like, wow. And I said, "Hey, come here, let me talk to you." And we sat on somebody's porch, the step, and I talked him out of it. And to me, that's JKD. To find out what was his real problem. He started sharing his real problem with me.
It's to me, if somebody asked me to describe that, I would say that is a long interception. It's not a quick, short interception.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That is an interception that took place over an extended period of time.
Gotcha.
See, I use interception with the dudette all the time. The second she says, "Hey, I need to talk to you," I apologize. I say I'm sorry, and that she's right. Done. Done.
I got you.
Well played.
You see?
Yeah.
Right. So I use because in my teaching,
the least resistance.
Right. Exactly. Right. In my teaching, we call it the ladder of efficiency and effectiveness. And it is the 5. So in JKD, people always talk about the 5 methods of attack, the 5 ways of attack or whatever. But you never hear people talk about what I call the 5 methods of counter offense. Because we don't teach to be defensive. Because defensive means you attack me and I stop it. Well, you're going to attack me again. So I'm going to stop that.
Correct.
At some point, you're going to hit me.
It's a losing
How about
proposition.
you try to hit me and I defend and hit you back? Now I give you something to think about, right? So we call it the 5 methods of counter offense. So at the bottom rung is distance. The rung above that is block and hit, or what Bruce Lee called touch and go. The rung above that is simultaneous parry and hit. The rung above that is evade and hit. And then the top rung is the stop hit or the interception.
Yeah.
Right? So the stop hit is physically considered to be the highest level of counter offense. Philosophically, the stop hit, the highest level, is your intention to on a daily basis to operate at your highest level. Now, so that's your intention. So for example, the guys at Early to Rise, Craig Ballantyne and those guys in Delray Beach, at their marketing company, they have a product called the Perfect Day Formula. And part of the Perfect Day Formula is the perfect morning routine. So you learn how to plan the perfect morning the night before. Yeah. So you're intercepting your own self, right? You see, but right. So you're also training yourself to set up to operate at that highest level of efficiency, which is Jeet Kune Do.
Right.
You see, so So when it comes to interpersonal relationship, my method of self-defense is to admit that I'm wrong and just cut everything off.
Does it work?
All the time.
I got to try that. I got
Right?
to try
Yeah.
that.
And so much so that she doesn't realize. Because I'm slick with it.
She didn't manipulate it.
Right? Doesn't realize I'm slick with it. Right? So I just realized it's 7:45. I actually have, who else has an 8 o'clock class tonight? Anybody?
No, I'm
It's 1 o'clock in the morning here.
They're in a private class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, I'm going to be on at 4 p.m. next Friday with Joaquin Marcelo, because it'll be,
Yeah.
wait, no, I got that wrong. It'll be 4 p.m. his time in Spain, 10 a.m. Florida time. Next week. But I just realized I'm telling you guys that, but it might not be live, because I don't know if you guys know that Joaquin is
Deaf.
is deaf.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we did a test run. So I just realized it's not going to be live. But I'll probably, if I'm lucky, I'll have it posted by 6 p.m. Right.
Okay.
But we tested it, and it actually, it'll be kind of interesting, because it works better if I type the questions.
Yeah.
Right. And he reads them and he answers. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to do my stream of consciousness like I was doing with Ming, right? You know, because I'll be living,
right.
because this is how I type. I never went to secretary school.
Yep.
So this is how I type, right? But at least, but it's two hands.
Yes, it's true.
Right? So, man, guys, thanks very much for hanging out with me. This was a blast. But I gotta, go, Joe.
3 things I want to say. One, I want to say thank you. And
My
keep
pleasure.
doing what you're doing. I don't care what
Seriously,
I don't know what people say. You keep, everybody get criticized. You keep doing what you're doing, because you turn, you're bringing the Jeet Kune Do community together.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So we can get to know each other and talk to each other and see what each other's really all about. And thank you for listening to me. The second thing, because I'd have called a lot of ruckus. But the second thing is that my son gave me this if I don't show it, for Christmas gift.
Nice.
Gave me that for a Christmas gift.
Nice.
And what was the third thing? It was one other thing. Oh, with the turmoil that's going on in the White House, Steve Golden said something about how my brain is working. And I went and had a sign made up, and it says, we're going to put it in the front yard. And it says, remember, democracy is not a building. It's in the hearts of all Americans. That's where democracy is. So they can take the building up, or they just pick it up and move it down the street. But it's in us.
Yep.
We are the democracy, and we make it work. And so I just wanted to say that. And thank you. And
let's hope they don't do that.
Let's hope they learn a little bit more about how to secure them bloody buildings. Right.
That was pathetic.
Yeah. See, pathetic. Terry, y'all don't have those problems in England.
Yeah.
I'm watching it on Sky News.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, guys. Once again, thanks very much for hanging out with me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate having you.
Meet all you.
Appreciate you for the platform. Seriously, I'm seconding what he said.
Hang on one second. Look who's back.
Who?
Uh-oh.
Grody.
Oh, he's had his dessert and he's good. This is his dessert. This is his dessert.
Yeah.
He got his mic on.
I know.
He can hear us.
Wait, let me get him to unmute.
There you go.
Is this dessert?
It was a light dinner. It was delicious. It was light. homemade pea soup with cornbread. Oh man.
Ah,
Good.
wow.
Something that I was thinking about.
He lives in Southern California, that's why.
Say what?
You live in Southern California, that's why it's.
No, I'm actually in Iowa right now.
Really?
I've been in Iowa, in Ames, Iowa, since mid-June.
They kicked you out of California?
They don't have that much sense. I left before they had a chance to
You
get
left
me out.
willingly?
So it was just, this is, my wife has a home here, and I go back and forth between LA and here anyway. But when the pandemic hit, I just, there was, I'm not going to be doing teaching.
Right.
So it just made sense for me to be here. And it's amazing to me that I've gotten over the last, couple months, people inquiring, oh, are you teaching now? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But something I wanted to go back to with the sparring for a moment is the to coin a phrase, the proof is in the pudding. And I think that if you train somebody to deal with flow, Dwight knows my favorite word, flow, and you have a structure that is robust under pressure and can be done within the within the limits of actual human cognition, speed of perception and response and stuff, then the people that I've trained, even though we didn't do hard contact, when they faced hard contact,
right,
they were fine.
Right, exactly.
It's not like anybody called me back and said, Steve,
right,
what the hell?
Yep.
It's not like somebody called me back and said, man, nothing worked. All our training was nothing. What they said was, man, that was just like, everything was so predictable.
Right.
And so they were so malleable.
Right.
They were, one of my students, he wasn't hurting people, but he was kind of a rascal. And he would always ask people, if he ran into a group of guys that seemed to be of a certain guyness, he'd say, so do you guys train? You do martial arts? And if they did, he was like, well, let's move around. Let's do it. And, it included, since he owned properties, there were sometimes he'd run into gang members. And he said, so you guys actually know how to fight? With something out without a gun. And they were like, well, and it was like, he just said it was just, a biker cousin and gang, just everything seemed to be just fine. But that being said, it has to still be the person's will and predilection to own it. Yeah. Nothing is automatic. Our training can be the best in the world, but it still has to be that person making whatever that effort is to connect to the material so that they own it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, while you were finishing up dinner, we were beginning to finish up this call, and then you showed up again, and we didn't want to not let you back in. So thank you very much for dessert. But if I don't sign off now, I'm going to be late for my class. Right?
All right, sorry, Dwight. Can I just
go.
My regards to Andy Kimura and his family.
Yes.
Yes.
And his students as well. I just wanted to pass on my regards before we finish. That was all.
Yes.
Yeah. I put a little video clip up on my Facebook page at the end of his dialogue with me. Andy put the camera on his dad, so I saw the picture. Awesome. Yeah, I put that up. All right. Okay. So we're gonna do this again, and we're gonna talk in depth about training people in Jeet Kune Do, man. Because when I get together with you guys, my brain explodes, and I'm like, oh yeah, and this and this and this, and I get a ton of ideas, especially when Ming is on. Right? A ton of ideas. So Terry, remember, right? The YouTube core Jeet Kune Do, rip his stuff off.
I've already got that down.
Go there. Go
It's
there.
great
Cheers,
stuff.
thanks for that.
Right?
Check it out.
Because I know you own all the Steve Grody's stuff already. You know,
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
Steve
Some
Grody
stuff.
actually, he didn't know it, but he introduced me to Create Space on Amazon.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, he has no idea, but that's how I found out.
And
about
yeah, Create Space, and probably I introduced you to MySpace too. That's really cool.
All right. And for those of you who may not have seen Ming's Jeet Kune Do dialogue, Ming is much more of an Amazon author than I am. I got one book, he got like 20. Right. You guys really need to check him out. Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell you, I have some of the best dialogue partners, man. Right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you're a good partner. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Right. And
Thank
we'll do
you.
this again
Bye.
soon. All right.
You
Okay.
guys, thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
So we're not going through all the tools. We're saying there's an offensive hand vocabulary. There's the defensive hand vocabulary that has to go along with that. So he has, that when he jabs, there's simply my parry, or when he jabs, there's my catch. And again, this would be accompanied with footwork. I could, when he punches, I can just slip the head, or I could just parry, or when he punches, I could just sidestep, but why not do it all? And make sure that way we're just making sure we're that much more safe. Is the word I'm looking for. When he throws the rear hand, okay, the cross, there's just, again, this parry, bam. And again, we will talk about simultaneous counterattack, but first, there's no way that when he throws a jab cross, there's no way that I'm going to be able to simultaneously go like this if I can't even, you know, catch and parry. If I can't do that, then I'm not going to be able to sector or do something like that. A more sophisticated maneuver has to be preceded with a preliminary or prerequisite skill. So, again, he can throw his lead hook, so bam, and again, this hand will be occupying center line either on his other hand to make sure it doesn't fire again, throws his rear hook, okay, bam. See, I got to put this hand either here or here to either check this thing or put it here, okay, and then again, we could follow up and whatnot, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Body hook. Okay, bam, we're here, and again here, or when he body hooks, okay, bam, here, again, trying to still monitor that other hand, if not monitoring the opponent's face, before going into what other counterattacks. Again, when his hands are up, he can slap down. He can slap down with the other hand. He can pair it with his elbows as well. Again, it's just, you know, it's a very, the smaller motion you can defend with, the easier it is to adjust to the chaos and the unpredictability the fight often has included in it. Okay.
What does it mean to train? Are we not the totality of everything we mentally and physically ingest? Everything we put upon our bodies to experience? Are we not what we imagine and express in subtle and sublime ways for others to experience? Training is the exercise of self. It is the rigorous exploration of our beginnings, and it is the courageous exploration of our ends, our limits. This self-expression comes at a price. It is paid for with experience and the shedding of that which we didn't know, that which we didn't think we could do, and the knowledge that there is yet so much more to do, to know, to experience. In this, training is opportunity. It is the recognition of where we can extend ourselves before losing ourselves, where we can discover our truth in a universe of truths, where we can share what we know and what we most certainly do not know, so that, in reflection, we can become better when the ego has abated, when we are open to nuance, so that our movement mentally and physically is refined and forgiving. Yes, forgiving. Training is forgiving what is holding us back, so we may move forward unburdened, free, to explore to the tips of our fingers the world within their reach.